Hey everyone, today's tutorial is to show you how you can make your own gorgeous ribbon flower hair clip. And to make this bow, I've got everything out ready. All of the products that I use in this video, I will link them in the description below. So if you press on the title, that will bring up the description and all of the product links. If I can't find the exact product, I will link something very similar. So I've got 12 pieces of ribbon already cut for the flower part of the bow. I will show you the measurements of that when we get to it. I've got my Fiskars razor edge scissors. I've got a lighter to heat seal the ends of our ribbon and to hold it together. I've got a tape measure to measure my ribbon. A needle threaded with some strong thread, and I've popped a knot already in the end. And I've got a piece of felt to match my ribbon. And I've got a couple of different options of flower centres. Again, I'll show you these when we get to them. I don't know which ones I'm going to use yet. I'll have a little play to see what one looks the best. But I will link both options in the description below. So 12 pieces of ribbon is what you will need for this flower bow. We're going to do 6 petals for the top layer of the flower and 6 petals for the bottom layer of the flower. So the bottom layer of the flower are these 6 here, which are slightly longer than these 6. So 6 pieces, 1 inch wide ribbon or 2.5 centimeters wide, and the first 6 pieces are all cut to 8 centimeters in length or just over 3 inches in length. And that is the first 6 pieces for the bottom of the bow. And then for the top petals of the bow or the flower, again 1 inch wide or 2.5 centimeters wide. And the next 6 pieces are cut to 7 centimeters in length or around 2 3/4 inches in length. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the 6 7 centimeter pieces aside to begin with, and we're going to work on the bottom petals of the bow first. I'm going to make 5 of them, and then I'll show you one of how I did it rather than showing you all 6. So as you can see, I've already prepared 5 of my petals using my 8 centimeter length ribbons. So now I'm going to show you how I did it with this final piece. So taking your ribbon, this one is the 8 centimeter length ribbon. You want to fold it in half lengthways first of all, like that. And then we're going to fold it in half again, so bringing this bottom up, and I'm going to line up all of those raw edges so it looks like this. And then on the open side, so on this side you've got like these 2 folded edges, and on this side you've got the 4 flaps. On this side you want to melt the fibres in this very bottom corner. So taking my lighter, so not the open end, the folded end, and the open side. Melt those fibres in that very corner and give them a pinch, and that will just bond that corner together. So it's held together like this now. And then turning it over so you've got it this way up, we're going to take this right side and we're going to overlap the left, and you want to overlap it around halfway. You can see the crease from where we folded it in half lengthways, so I'll use that crease as a guide as I bring this right piece over and overlap it. And you want to make sure that the raw edges at the bottom are all nice and straight across, so you don't want to overlap it at an angle. Twist them around so that the bottom is dead straight. Then at this point I like to flip it upside down. It's just easier to work with this way. Don't worry about the frays, we'll use our lighter as we melt the fibres, and that will heat seal it at the same time. Again, taking this right side, so the piece which is underneath, we're going to fold this over, so bringing it toward the front and folding it inward, so it should meet up, so it's folded in half with the bottom piece. Taking the lighter, again we're going to melt those fibres and give it a squeeze. Be careful because this can get hot, this ribbon, when you melt it. You could use a pair of tweezers on here if you want to save your fingers, but I'm used to doing it this way. So we've got it like this now. We're going to do the same with this left side, so bring it over toward the front, folding it over, and then again I'm just going to trim off that little fray with a burn bit on it, and then again using the heat from my lighter to melt the fibres and bond that bottom all together. And then you should end up with like this little sort of cone shape here, and that is the look you're after. So that is how you make your petals. So these are all the 8cm pieces now made for the bottom layer of the bow. I'm just going to set those aside and then bring in my 7cm pieces of ribbon. So I've already made one, so you can see how the 7cm length ribbon compares to the 8cm. It makes a slightly smaller petal. So we're going to do the exact same steps as we did with the 8cm, but these obviously are just going to be the smaller petals for the top layer of the bow. So I'll show you one of these again. So this time 7cm length piece of ribbon, exactly the same way, folding it in half lengthways, folding it in half again, lining up all of those raw edges. And then on this bottom open side with the fold, melt that very corner fibres and give it a pinch with your thumb and finger just to bond that in place so it's held together like that. Flipping it over, taking the left side, overlapping the right, making sure it's straight across the bottom, turning it upside down to make it easier, taking this side, folding it forward over toward the front, using my lighter to melt those fibres and hold that side in place, and then taking the left side, folding it forward, making sure it's all in line, and again melting those fibres, giving it a pinch to hold it in place. So that is how you make the top layer petals as well. I'm going to finish off the last 4 and then we'll assemble our lovely flower. So we have all of our petals now assembled. These ones were the larger ones, the 8cm length ribbon, and these ones are the 7cm length ribbons. I've kept them separate, but they are visibly different, so you should be able to tell. But just to make it simple for yourself, try to keep them separate. Taken our needle and thread now, we're going to work on the 8cm ones first of all, so I'll just set those ones aside. So taking my needle with some extra strong thread, and I've popped a knot in the end. Taking one of my petals, we're going to stitch 4 stitches in the bottom along the raw edge, so making sure the petal is the correct way up, going in through the first corner all the way through to the knot, and then coming back up through the bottom for the second stitch, third stitch, and the final 4th stitch on that last corner. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches like that, and then we're going to go straight into the next petal the same way, so continuing with the same piece of thread, making sure your petal is the correct way up. 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then I'm going to pull that so that the first 2 petals are together, and then I'm going to continue now on all 6 of my larger petals in the same way. So now we have all 6 petals sewn. We're going to pull this tight now, but first of all I'm going to thread this piece back through the one we started on. So going back in through the top of that first petal, and that way that will bring that into a circle. And then I'm going to pull this really tight to bring all of those together. That is why it is important to use an extra strong thread So you can really pull that thread without risking breaking your thread and then losing all of your hard work. Some of these do flip over a little bit. Don't worry too much about that at this point. And then once you can't get that any tighter, just go through that end petal. And then on the second go, before you pull it tight, I'm just going to go through the loop a couple of times, and that will form a knot. So I can trim off the excess thread, and I'll just pop a knot in there to use on my next petals. And then we're going to flip this over, making sure all of our petals are in line. So this is what you should end up with, like this little sort of ruffly look flower after you've had a little fiddle with it and adjusted your petals. And now we're going to take our smaller petals and we're going to stitch them in exactly the same way and then bring them all together, and then we're going to layer both pieces up. So I've sewn them all and I've just cut off the thread. I'll just show you what a bit of a mess it looks after I've done that. Just you can see how once I've sort of adjusted all the petals, it does take shape. So don't worry when you first pull it tight and seal it off what it looks like, because it does take shape eventually. Just give them a little bit of adjustment along the bottom. So once you've got these two flower shapes looking like this, the smaller one does look a bit gappy, but don't worry too much about that, because when you layer it up, it takes a lovely shape. So taking the smaller petaled flower, you're going to layer it on top of the larger one, and you want each of these petals to sit in between the bottom one, so they're kind of staggered like that. So taking my hot glue gun, I'm going to place some glue around a circle sort of shape on my bottom petals, and then I'm going to lay this over the top so that the petals lay in between each of those bottom ones. So I'm just working my way around and pressing it into the glue, making sure that they sit in between so that they are staggered. So this is what it looks like now. As you can see, it totally starts taking that gorgeous flower shape. Isn't that beautiful? And now we're ready to add this to a clip or an elastic or a headband, whatever you want to add it to, and then we're going to add a gem in the middle. So me personally, I'm going to add mine to a clip, because a lot of people add these to elastics, but I find if you add it to a clip, you can put your hair in a ponytail and wear the flower still on top of your ponytail, or you've then got the option of wearing these as a fringe clip on their own. And I love flowers in the summer, so I like to add mine to a clip. I don't have a 1 centimetre wide ribbon to line my hair clip to match, so I've just cut 11 centimetres from my matching ribbon. I'll set this piece aside to use another time. Taking my felt, I've already drawn around this glue bottle. You want around sort of 1.5 inch circle, so something you can draw around on your felt. And then I'm just going to cut this out, and then I'm going to fold this in half, and I'm going to cut a couple of slits in there. so about 1 centimetre in the middle, and a couple of slits. So when I open it up, it's like this now. And then taking the top of the clip, I'm going to thread that in that little slot. So it looks like this. And then just to make sure that it don't slip on the clip, I'm going to pop some glue on the underside of the felt and just stick it down onto the clip. So now I know that this felt is not going to slide off. And now we're ready to add some glue to the felt, so all the way around this time and in the middle. And then we can pop our flower on there. So I'm just going to tip this upside down now and pop that clip on the underside of the bow. So pushing down on that felt. So that is a really good way to add your flowers to your hair clips, like that. You can't see that clip at all, and because I've lined the clip, it blends in perfectly. And now we're ready to add the center decoration. So these are my 3 options for the center of my flower. So I've got this round pearl with gemstones around the edge. So that looks nice in the middle. Or I've got these ones here which actually do look like flower centers. I've got gold and silver, and that would actually push into that middle. I think these are really pretty. I might use the silver one actually. I think I'm going to go for the silver. The gold, sorry, does really look nice against the yellow, but I do like silver, so that is what I'm going to use. So I've just cut off like a little scrap piece of felt, and I'm going to roll this up and stuff that hole with it. Just make that a little bit smaller. So I've got this little piece of felt. I'm just going to roll it up, and I'm going to pop some hot glue in that hole, and I'm going to stuff the felt in that hole, because felt and hot glue works really well together. So I'm going to use a mix of hot glue and gemstone glue to attach this, which is why I've stuffed the hole with felt. So taking the gemstone glue now, I'm going to add this around the edge of this little sticky out part, because it will push in that hole. So taking my gemstone glue all the way around this edge, because gemstone glue works really well on gems or any sort of shiny surface, pearls, etc. onto fabric. So once this set, this will hold really well, but it takes 15 hours to set. So that is why I've got the felt in the middle. I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue there, and then the hot glue will act as an immediate bond. So I'll push the gem now in there, and that hot glue is going to act as an immediate bond whilst the gemstone glue sets. So that is how I like to attach these gems. And there you have your finished ribbon flower. Isn't that absolutely stunning? You can make these in any colour. You could use a ribbon with a foil edge to give it a different look, but I just love them in the plain ribbon. So beautiful. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial today. If you did, please hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and if you press the bell button, that will turn on notifications. I'll be back again soon with another tutorial. Bye for now.